The story begins with Storm bringing Spider-Man to the local Jean Grey school. With Peter taking on the role of joining the X-Men, it definitely comes with some challenges, so he later arrives back at his room to dress up for his time as a substitute. But while he's getting ready, Nightcrawler keeps messing with his outfit, then disappearing. Once he makes it to the classroom, he introduces himself as the teacher for the mutants and begins taking roll call. But it's obvious that they are bored and ready for school to end. Out of boredom, Shark Girl suggests having class in the danger room, but Spider-Man thinks otherwise and lets them know it's probably worth avoiding. As he lays his laws down for the classroom, one of the students decides to get mouthy with Spidey, which results in him being taught with a quick web demonstration. Rockslide also calls out the teacher for what he did, as well as all the other students criticizing him for his abuse toward Elliott. However, his shirt is suddenly removed, which causes all the students to mock him, even calling him the Spider Doof. Storm then walks in, questioning why Peter is shirtless, and lets everyone know they are going to the danger room. So they pay the danger room a visit, putting Spider-Man and the mutants in a chaotic battle against robots. Spider-Man then rushes to protect Ernest from the attack bots, only to find her calmly reprimanding Elliott for causing chaos. Out of curiosity, Spidey questions if all they know is fighting, when strangely Glob decides to jump in front of the turret to protect the other mutants. When helping Shark Girl, Peter asks if saving everyone excuses saving no one, but Shark Girl doesn't know why it always has to be her job, which Spidey suggests it's because they are human. Peter is then snatched up and crushed by one of the attack bots. With the other mutants seeing this, they plan their approach to help, but take too long, resulting in the robot smashing him. Days later on a field trip, they arrive at a local museum where they talk about extinction and look at dinosaurs. They also elaborate on how they have smart kids in this class, including a literal brain. When Spidey brings up Rockslide to Ernest, she explains how she dislikes him because of always bullying. He responds with the moral of the story of being able to take responsibility for others. Out of nowhere, they are ambushed by Dinosaur Man, also known as Stigron. This sets the tone for an all-out brawl, with the dinosaur crushing anything in its path, before Elliott uses his mutant power to end the fight, but Spider-Man warns not to, as it will hurt everybody. He then notices Rockslide is in danger, while also keeping in mind of not to get too close. So he uses his spider webs to pull Rockslide away, but unfortunately, Stigron had got a hold of his hand, leaving him crippled. Another one of the dinosaur men arrive for backup, so Peter uses this as a chance to take him down with his webs, but ends up being pulled away. Eventually, he ends up losing him and is left stuck under skeleton rubble. So the dinosaur then tries to use his eyes to hypnotize Spidey into terrifying visions. In another universe, they all wake up joking about being captured on their first day of school. Spidey then asks around for Shark Girl, but was revealed to have been a new member of the United Prehistoric Insurgency. With the Saurians wanting to do this for a long time, they plan to colonize everything, which would make them the rulers. This colony they planned to retake was originally Staten Island, but was renamed to New Savage Island. Later, at the Jean Grey principal's office, Storm and Dupe are expecting to see Spider-Man's class, but the whole time, Spidey and the mutants are stuck on a whole other island. However, they break the ties they were tied up with and attempt an escape. But this escape wasn't easy, as they were ambushed by numerous dinosaurs that came to stop them. In the middle of fighting, Spider-Man notices these aren't just Saurians, they are humans, and their main goal is converting people into dinosaurs. Inside one of their facilities, Peter and the mutants are detained, where they conversate about Shark Girl turning evil, but Elliott didn't forget about when he was silenced with webs back in class and confronts Spidey. So he responds that Elliott is right, and he needs to work on treating students like suspects. Him and Eye-Boy then talk about how they could use their powers to escape, which points them to Glob. Annoyed of constantly being used, Glob asks what they need him for, which they reveal he could squeeze through the bars to save the day. And Glob takes the advice and attempts squeezing through, but struggles to get his ribs to fit through. So Spider-Man pulls him back through so they can restart the attempt. Meanwhile, the others are talking to Shark Girl, who explains she's not evil and was just joking. She pitches in to help Glob escape, and her and Spidey talk about how they could turn the Staten Islanders back to normal. But as they are talking, they hear another voice question Shark Girl, and when she sees it was Sauron, she acts as if she caught them escaping and blames it on Glob. When the Saurians found out it was Glob, they decide to capture him and make adjustments to his mutant DNA before flipping the switch. This conducted experiment turned Glob Herman from a mutant into a mutated dinosaur, but Peter and Martha finds it pretty cute and sees Glob as a see-through puppy. The other Saurians are shocked to see this, given they expected a larger, more intimidating mutation, causing them to get depressed, which makes them want to eat. But Spider-Man isn't going for it no more and decides to make an escape, only to be grabbed in midair by the dinosaur. While they are fighting outside, Shark Girl asks for Stigron to reverse the Dino Ray machine to turn them back normal, and even uses her flirting tactics to convince him to do so. The other Saurian walks in, confronting Stigron on the other mutants being missing, but Stigron explains Shark Girl was right and they don't need him. This sparked tensions between the two dinosaurs, resulting in them throwing blows back and forth, basically fighting over Shark Girl. When Spidey returns, he didn't expect to see this, but also urges Shark Girl to protect the Ray. She asks if he's going to help or anything, but he responds that he's not sure if he wants to. On the other hand, while the two Saurians are clashing, they stare into each other's eyes, which ended up freezing them, turning them into what appears to be statues. With both of them defeated and the Ray reprogrammed, they are ready to turn Glob back to normal. But Martha really likes Glob in this form because of how adorable he is. Now, with everything back to normal, they hang out around the island. While Spidey has iBoy take pictures of him, Mr. America jumps in the frame, even admitting how surprised he is to see Peter as an X-Man. But Spidey is dispatched by Storm to return back to the ship, so he lets Mr. America know he has to head out. And back at the school, Storm is blowing his phone up, expecting her students to be returned immediately, as well as in the ship Shark Girl bringing up how mad Storm might be at him. Shark Girl then mentions how nobody wants her as a teammate or girlfriend since she got all sharky, but Spidey lets her know that Hellion has been looking at her the whole flight. Suddenly, iBoy points out how the ship usually doesn't have a cockpit door with a lock before the whole ship is slowly filled with toxic gas. Spider-Man tries to hold his breath to warn the others, but by that time, all the other mutants were already unconscious. The pilot and person behind this was a villain known as Chameleon, a Spider-Man antagonist who was reporting to Mojo and wanted Spider captured and brought to him. His plan was to host a TV show in his name with Spider-Man as a guest, and anytime he says anything the producers don't like, they strike him right on set. In this world, Mojo runs everything, and eventually comes to take over the whole set. Meanwhile, Spidey is being pushed by the whole Sinister Six. As he's attacked, he calls out for the other mutants' help, so they do just that, and come to fight the villains for his rescue. When he is later freed, iBoy comes to inform him about their plan, but Spider-Man could really care less at the moment, and asks him to pitch in and help. Martha also questions Peter about them being on TV, but he acknowledges the need to return back to school rather than being stuck on a TV show. Back in reality, behind the screens, Mojo sits and laughs while Spider-Man begs to be let out. Peter then confronts iBoy for working with Mojo and even starts to get angry with him because he once thought highly of him. But iBoy responds with the difficulties of alluring the Daily Bugle. Now knowing this information, Spidey is furious with iBoy and runs right toward him, only to notice it's actually Chameleon shapeshifting as him. Spidey begins to pressure the villain, demanding for answers on where the other mutants are, but Chameleon chants out "Requeue the villains," which summoned the Sinister Six, leaving him with an open pathway to escape. However, Spider-Man and Glob Herman fight off the villains, with Glob annoyed on constantly saving iBoy. After fighting everyone off, they find an exit where they can finally make an escape, but iBoy was actually held captive by Mojo, where he is forced to look at hundreds of screens with himself. Out of nowhere, Wolverine comes to the rescue, ripping the wires to the TVs, with iBoy shocked to see Wolverine as the one who rescues him. Back in the Mojoverse, Peter and the others are absolutely speechless. Given the strange appearance of everyone, some of the local bystanders notice it's Spider-Man, with one of them remarking how much he loves Spidey. But this went from a few local bystanders to a whole crowd of them, chasing down Spider-Man for his autograph. Peter and the others then head out before spotting a secret window who calls them out. Inside was Gambit, who shows them some magic tricks, which Rockslide and Spider-Man really find fascinating. But turns out this wasn't actually Gambit, and was Chameleon, who shapeshifted, fooling everyone to think it was him. He holds Glob as hostage with Hellion, urging Spider-Man to teach him with a web-sling demonstration. Chameleon begins to use his abilities to create multiple Glob Hermans, giving Peter one chance to spot the real one. Suddenly, iBoy blasts through the wall, distracting Chameleon, while Spidey uses his webs to disarm him. They are then greeted by the astonishing X-Men in baby form, and Spider-Man comes up with a plan to return back to the Mojoverse and get the job done, but needs to talk to Logan first. As he's talking to Logan, he tries to cheer him up, while Glob and Martha attempt to eavesdrop into the conversation. They eventually make their way back to the Mojoverse, interferes, interrupting the livecast. But Mojo was already on standby as Hellion attempts to take him down with his abilities. Peter and other mutants then barge in as backup for the others, but is blasted away by Hellion's powers, which took advantage of Mojo being distracted, with Glob even able to get up close to choke him. Rockslide then punches a weak point on the mechanical legs of Mojo's, sending him falling out the building in defeat. But Spider-Man's mission as a hero is never to kill, so he commands them to bring Mojo back up in order to carry him somewhere or something. When they finally see the portal, they take it as their chance to leave. But as Spidey entered, he notices Storm was waiting and ready for some explanations.